That sounds tough, maybe even heartless. But stay with me, because there are certain people who don't actually want help. They want a free ride. Here's the truth. Not everyone who asks for help deserves it. Some people use help as a crutch, not a ladder. They'll lean on you again and again until you're carrying their entire weight while they never even try to walk on their own. We've seen this before. The person who always has a crisis, the one who's always the victim. And every time they reach out their hand, but not to climb, just to pull you into their drama. The difference is simple. Some people are struggling, and some people are strategizing. Struggling people make efforts, they take responsibility, they just need a little push. But the strategizers, they know exactly what they're doing. They've learned that you'll always show up, and they'll milk that kindness until you're empty. Here's where you draw the line. If helping someone keeps them in the same cycle, you're not helping, you're enabling. And enabling is not kindness, it's participation. Boundaries are not cruelty, they're clarity. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care, it means you refuse to play the game. So the next time these people ask for help, pause. Ask yourself, will my help move them forward or just keep them stuck? Because if the answer is stuck, then the most loving thing you can do is step back, protect your energy, protect your peace, and save your help for the ones who actually want to grow, not the ones who want to keep you trapped with them. Not everyone who asks for help deserves it, and that is one of the hardest truths to accept. We grow up hearing that helping others is always good, that saying yes is always noble, and that generosity should have no limits. But life teaches us something different. It teaches us that helping the wrong people doesn't just cost you time. It costs you energy, your peace, and sometimes even your self-respect. There are people who don't actually want help. They want convenience. They're not looking for solutions. They're looking for someone to carry their load while they sit back and repeat the same mistakes again and again. When you give your energy to people who misuse it, you're not helping them grow. You're feeding their manipulation. These people know exactly how to phrase their request, exactly how to make you feel guilty, exactly how to tug at your compassion until you give in. They don't need solutions, they want rescue. And the more you rescue them, the less they take responsibility for their own lives. You might think you're being kind, but what you're really doing is teaching them that they don't have to change, because you'll always step in. Think about it. When someone constantly finds themselves in trouble, constantly repeats the same poor choices, and constantly leans on you to bail them out, that's not coincidence, that's a pattern. And patterns are powerful indicators of intent. If they wanted change, you'd see effort, you'd see progress, you'd see them trying to climb even if they stumble. But if all you see is the same cycle, problems, excuses, rescue, repeat, then your help isn't lifting them, it's locking them in place. And here's the danger. While you're busy carrying their weight, you're too drained to carry your own. Helping the wrong people leaves you exhausted, resentful, and sometimes even questioning your own worth. You start to feel guilty for saying no, but use when you say yes. That is not the balance of a healthy relationship. That is manipulation dressed up as need. The hardest part is realizing that saying no doesn't make you heartless, it makes you wise. Because true kindness isn't about saying yes to everyone. It's about discerning who actually benefits from your yes. If your help builds them, great. But if your help only enables them, then the kindest thing you can do is step back and let them face the consequences of their choices. Growth doesn't come from being rescued. Growth comes from struggle, from responsibility, from accountability. So protect your energy, protect your time, Protect the compassion that makes you who you are and invest it where it can actually make a difference. Don't pour yourself into people who only take and never transform. Because the truth is, not everyone who asks for help deserves it. And the sooner you accept that, the freer you become to give your best to those who do. The difference between struggle and strategy is subtle but powerful, and if you don't learn to see it, you'll end up wasting your compassion on the wrong people. Some people genuinely struggle. They face hardships, they stumble, they fall, but they get back up. Their cries for help come from a place of pain and effort. They want to move forward, but they need a hand to steady them for a moment. When you help people like that, your effort multiplies. A small act of kindness can spark real change in their lives because they're already willing to put in the work. They're not using you as a substitute for responsibility. They're asking for support to build their own. But then there are others, people who have learned that playing the victim is a strategy. They know that if they appear helpless, someone will swoop in to save them. And the more times that works, the less they even think about solving their problems. Why would they? It's easier to find someone else to carry the burden than to carry it themselves. They're not struggling, they're strategizing. They're not looking for solutions, they're looking for shortcuts. You'll notice the difference if you pay attention. When someone is truly struggling, they're embarrassed to ask for help. They don't want to be a burden. They'll try to do as much as they can on their own before they finally reach out. And when they do, they value your support. They take it seriously, they act on it, and they move forward. On the other hand, the strategist wears victimhood like a badge. They dramatize their struggles, exaggerate their pain, and repeat the same stories of how life has treated them unfairly. The moment you help, they relax. Because their goal isn't growth, it's rescue. The danger in not seeing this difference is that you become a tool in their game. You get caught in a cycle where your help doesn't heal but keeps them comfortable in their helplessness. They don't need solutions because they already have one, you. That's when your kindness turns into fuel for their strategy, and slowly you start to realize you're working harder on their problems than they are. That is the clearest sign that you're dealing with strategy, not struggle. This is why discernment matters. It's not about becoming cold or refusing to help anyone. It's about being wise enough to know who deserves your energy. Because when you pour into someone who is truly struggling, the impact lasts. You empower them. You remind them of their strength. But when you pour into someone who only plays the victim, you weaken both of you. They stay stuck, and you stay drained. So the next time someone asks for help, ask yourself, are they trying to climb or are they trying to be carried? Because one is a struggle worth supporting, and the other is a strategy you should never reward. The difference may be quiet, but once you see it, you'll never unsee it, and it will save you from mistaking manipulation for need. Repeated patterns speak louder than words, and if you're willing to watch closely, people will always show you who they really are. Words can be charming, promises can sound convincing, excuses can be dressed up to make sense, but actions, especially repeated ones, don't lie. When someone constantly needs rescuing, it's no longer about bad luck or unfortunate timing. It's about a choice, a cycle, and often a habit of using the people around them. Think about the people you've seen who always seem to be in a crisis. One week it's a financial emergency, the next week it's a relationship drama, and the week after that it's another disaster that somehow requires your time, your money, or your energy. At first it feels natural to help. Everyone stumbles, everyone has seasons of struggle, but when the pattern repeats over and over again, you have to stop asking, what happened to them? And start asking, why does this keep happening? Because here's the truth. One mistake can be forgiven. 2 mistakes can be understood. But the same mistake, repeated endlessly, is no longer an accident. It's a decision. If they are not learning from the consequences of their choices, it's because someone is always stepping in to shield them from those consequences. And often, that someone is you. Your rescuing becomes their escape plan. Your help becomes their safety net. And instead of climbing higher, they stay right where they are, knowing that you'll come back to catch them again. This is why patterns matter more than words. A person can tell you, "I'll do better next time," but if every next time looks exactly like the last time, those words mean nothing. A person can cry, apologize, and promise change, but if their actions don't align with those promises, you're not witnessing growth. You're witnessing manipulation. They know the right things to say to keep you close, but their patterns reveal the truth. They're not changing because they don't have to. When you keep rescuing someone from their repeated mistakes, you're not helping them, you're training them. You're teaching them that they can live recklessly, avoid responsibility, and still have someone to clean up the mess. That is not love, that is not compassion. That is being used under the disguise of care. The hardest part is accepting that stepping back might be the only way they'll ever learn. People don't grow when life is easy. They grow when they're forced to face the weight of their own decisions. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let the pattern finally catch up to them, because only then do they have a reason to break it. So watch the patterns, not the promises. If someone constantly needs rescuing, it's not a coincidence. It's a lifestyle, and if you keep stepping in, you're not helping them stand, you're keeping them weak. Don't let repeated cycles trap you in endless giving. Protect your energy. And remember, words may tell you what they want, but patterns will always tell you who they are. Your boundaries are not cruelty, no matter how much someone tries to convince you otherwise. Saying no isn't harsh, it isn't selfish, and it certainly isn't unkind. It's wisdom, it's clarity, and it's an act of self-respect. Yet for many people, the moment you draw a line, the moment you protect your time, or the moment you refuse to be taken advantage of, you're accused of being cold, difficult, or unhelpful. But that accusation isn't about you. It's about them losing access to the version of you that always gave, even at your own expense. Boundaries exist because without them, people will take as much as you allow. Not everyone, but enough people that if you live without limits, you'll end up drained, resentful, and disconnected from yourself. And the truth is, people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They may not always agree, they may not always like them, but they will honor them because they value you. The ones who push, guilt trip, or lash out when you set boundaries are the very ones who benefited from you having none. Saying no does not mean you lack compassion. It means you understand that compassion without wisdom turns into weakness. If you say yes to every request, every demand, and every emotional plea, you will eventually have nothing left to give, not to others and not to yourself. Boundaries are what keep your kindness sustainable. They are what ensure that your giving comes from a place of choice, not obligation, and that your love is strong, not resentful. Think about it this way. If someone is drowning and you jump in recklessly without knowing how to swim, you'll both go under. But if you anchor yourself first, if you secure your own strength, then you can help without losing yourself. That's what boundaries are. They are your anchor. They keep you grounded so that when you do choose to help, it's from a position of strength, not sacrifice. The problem is many people confuse boundaries with rejection. They hear no and interpret it as, you don't care about me. But that's not what no means. No means I care about myself enough not to overextend. No means I refuse to be manipulated. No means I value my peace more than your approval. And anyone who cannot accept that is showing you they don't truly value you. They value what they can get from you. At the end of the day, boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors with locks to decide who gets in and how far. They're not cruelty, they're protection. They're not rejection, they're direction. They're how you teach people to treat you. Without them, you become a doormat. With them, you become respected. So don't apologize for having boundaries. Don't shrink back because someone calls you selfish for protecting your peace. Remember this, people who truly love you will adjust. People who don't will leave. And that's the gift of boundaries. They don't just protect your self-respect. They reveal who really deserves a place in your life. Helping doesn't always heal, and that's a lesson many of us learn the hard way. We grow up believing that stepping in, solving problems, and rescuing others is the ultimate sign of kindness. But the truth is, sometimes your help does the opposite of what you intended. Instead of lifting someone up, it keeps them stuck. Instead of empowering them, it makes them dependent. And instead of holding them accountable, it removes the very pressure that could have forced them to grow. When you help someone at the wrong time or in the wrong way, you shield them from the consequences of their own actions. You take away the very lesson life was trying to teach them. Think about someone who constantly makes reckless financial choices. Every time they overspend, they come to you for a bailout. Out of love, you step in, you cover their debt, and you think you're protecting them. But what you're really doing is teaching them that their choices don't matter because someone else will always clean up the mess. That's not healing. That's enabling. Real help doesn't take away responsibility, it encourages it. It says, I'll support you as you learn, but I won't do the work for you. The danger of constant rescuing is that it conditions people to stay weak. Why develop strength if someone else will carry the load? Why learn discipline if someone else will fix the fallout? Over time, your help stops being a blessing and starts being a crutch. And the longer they lean on that crutch, the less they learn to walk on their own. This doesn't just harm them, it harms you. You begin to feel drained, used, and unappreciated. You start to notice that your help is not leading to progress, but to repetition. The same problems, the same excuses, the same pleas for another chance. And somewhere deep down, you realize that your kindness is being taken for granted. That's when the bitterness sets in and you're left wondering if maybe you were the problem for giving too much. But the truth is, you're not the problem for being kind. You're only responsible for how wisely you direct that kindness. Helping someone doesn't always mean saying yes. Sometimes the most healing form of help is to step back and let them experience the full weight of their choices. Sometimes love looks like saying, I believe you can figure this out without me. Because in that space, they're forced to grow, they're forced to face reality, and they're forced to realize that accountability is not optional. So before you rush to rescue, pause and ask yourself, will my help move them forward, or will it keep them exactly where they are? Will it strengthen them, or will it weaken them? Because if your help keeps them stuck, dependent, and unaccountable, then it's not really help at all. It's harm disguised as kindness. And true kindness, the kind that heals, always empowers rather than enables. Protect your energy for the right people, because no matter how strong, kind, or giving you are, your energy is not unlimited. Every time you pour into someone, you're making an investment of time, focus, patience, and emotional strength. The mistake many of us make is assuming everyone deserves that investment equally. They don't. Some people value it, some people waste it, and some people abuse it. The difference between living drained and living fulfilled often comes down to who you give your energy to. The right people are not perfect, but they are willing. They may stumble, they may fall, they may get it wrong over and over again, but they take responsibility. They appreciate the help, they use it to grow, and they show gratitude for the effort you've given. When you pour into them, something actually changes. They take what you offer and multiply it. That's the kind of soil worth planting your seeds in. The wrong people, however, are like a bottomless pit. No matter how much encouragement, advice, or support you give, it never fills them. They keep coming back, not because they're moving forward, but because they've learned that you're a reliable source of energy. They'll drain you, and once you're empty, they'll look for the next person to do the same. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your best years giving your best self to people who never intended to grow in the first place. Protecting your energy doesn't mean shutting everyone out. It doesn't mean becoming cold or selfish. It means being intentional. It means asking yourself, does this person want to change, or do they just want comfort? Do they respect my effort, or do they take it for granted? Do they grow when I give, or do they stay the same? The answers to those questions tell you exactly who deserves your time. And here's the truth. The people who truly want to grow don't just take from you, they give back. Maybe not in the same way, but they refill you in return. They respect your boundaries. They listen, they learn, they make you feel that your presence matters, not just your service. That's how you know your energy is being well spent. When you fail to protect your energy, you start living resentful, tired, and bitter. But when you protect it, you create space for peace, purpose, and the right relationships to flourish. You stop chasing people who don't care, and you start attracting people who do. You stop being drained by takers, and you start being renewed by growers. So save your time, your compassion, and your effort for the ones who are willing to rise. Because the truth is, you can't save everyone, but you can wisely choose who you stand beside. And when you protect your energy for the right people, you not only preserve yourself, you make your giving more powerful than ever. At the end of it all, the lesson is simple but powerful. Not everyone deserves your help. Not every cry for attention is genuine, and not every relationship is worth the energy it drains from you. Real wisdom comes from discernment, knowing the difference between struggle and strategy, between growth and manipulation, between words and patterns. Protecting your boundaries isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Refusing to enable isn't selfish, it's love in its truest form. And saving your time and energy for the right people isn't weakness, it's the strongest act of self-respect you can practice. So remember this, your compassion is precious, your peace is priceless, and your help should never be wasted where it only feeds dependency. Choose wisely where you give yourself, because your life is too valuable to be poured into people who never intend to grow. Protect your energy, honor your boundaries, and keep your kindness where it can actually create change. Thank you.